right, welcome to the Old Stoney's podcast. We are broadcasting from the TalkCastPDX studios this week. We had a little on-location mishap last week, Matt.
What happened?
We got too high with Troy
got a
Moore.
little bit too high on Troy Moore.
Troy Moore from Ideal Cannabis. We appreciate you. We love you. He came by the Gross Studios to just kind of hang out and check things out. And he ended up bringing a bunch of new things to try, like yummies. Mm-hmm. And next thing I know, we were filming, and it was just Matt and I. Mm-hmm. So we kind of had nobody to help that day. So I had to get up and.
So you weren't regulated?
Yeah, we weren't regulated. So we
weren't moderated.
We had a little sound issue, and then conversation totally went the wrong way, and it was good though.
Oh my God, I've been smoking on that stuff all week. Let me tell you something, Troy. If you're listening, all of those are bangers, dude. We got some experimental weed, and
we did have some experimental weed,
a couple different strains. I can't remember the names of them because I'm an asshole. But holy shit, I shared that with my friends and neighbors, and we were all just
excellent stuff.
Away.
And then he gave us some clothes, so he put clothes on our back. I love the guy.
Rocking everything
weed
right now.
He's wearing. Matt is modeling the Ideal Cannabis new look. I think we have there's a camera just for us too. But
I like this new baseball style logo. God, damn,
I had a person ask me what team it was.
That's Ideal.
Yeah,
Team Ideal, baby.
I said Team Ideal is what I said. So, and then I'm sporting Geek Farms.
My new favorite shirt.
And today is expansion draft day, so I'm wearing my Seattle Kraken hat.
Yeah, we got.
Yeah, we picked Adam. We got Adam Larson from the Edmonton Oilers for a 4 year, $16 million contract.
What a bargain, huh?
He's a bad man.
So do they have 20 players they picked?
Yeah, they're going to announce it tonight at 5 o'clock on ESPN2.
Now, explain this real quick. I know this isn't a sports podcast, but we do have one coming.
Yeah, Gloves Off, Sticks Down is out there, just so people know. Go to Facebook and like it.
To listen to that, man. That's going to be awesome.
I want to be in the audience.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that'd be awesome. We're going to have an audience at some point.
Do they just cherry pick?
Yeah,
a couple players off of each team. Holy shit!
Each team protects so many players, and they leave some players unprotected.
Like
17
or 18.
Like grade school. No, I want Bobby over here.
It's a strategic game because like Montreal left Carey Price unprotected. He's one of the greatest goalies of all time
because of his contract.
Yeah,
probably.
but it would have cost us $11 million right out of the
gate.
They're not,
and
hit the cap and really hurt
him.
us. So they're thinking future. Mm-hmm. Rumor is, and I'm just a little preview of my podcast that's out there right now. Chris Drygear, from Florida. He's an unrestricted free agent. He's a great goalie, and believe that they just signed him. So we have a goalie.
Wow.
Nice. We'll have some backup goalies too. I'm hoping for Jonathan Quick from L.A. He's a legendary goalie, and he only costs us about $8 million on the cap. So
what a bargain!
He's a bargain.
Well, you're available for goalie to fill
I'm
the
available
hole.
too. I volunteer to drive the Zamponi and hang out.
Yeah.
All right. Enough hockey.
All right. Enough hockey.
Enough hockey. But we, Portland Winterhawks too. We gotta love them. Gotta love them. So
bring Major League Baseball to Portland.
That's the rumor today too. So Old Stoney's podcast. We talk about sports, everything. But today we are lucky enough to have a guest in studio. We have not had a guest.
I had to wake up actually.
So did I.
Ron Patton joins us. He's the executive producer for Ground Zero with Clyde Lewis, a national radio show. You guys got a couple 100-something affiliates, quite a few.
175.
Wow.
Still and growing.
That's awesome.
Still growing after all these years.
Yep.
You also produce his TV show that he does right here, his live video streaming show, Channel Weird, which is every Saturday at, 2 o'clock? 1 o'clock, and it goes till 2, and then it reruns at 7 on your channel as well. So good times, but then you're busy doing your own thing too. You have the Paranoia Podcast.
Yes.
And magazine, right?
Yeah, Paranoia Podcast. We've been doing that since about 2015, Olaf Phillips and myself. And Olaf is the publisher of Paranoia Magazine.
There you go. Yeah.
Oh, real print. Actual print.
There you go.
Actual magazines. Is there a staple in it?
I believe so, yeah.
Yes, okay.
And
I
used to be the publisher of Paranoia from about 2011 to about 2015. But prior to that, I used to write for Paranoia, just sort of as a little side gig. I had a real job, but I enjoy writing.
Oh, there's cartoons.
And so Paranoia has been out since 1992, and it's probably the leading conspiracy magazine out there.
That's awesome.
Conspiracy, paranormal type stuff. And that's how I actually met Clyde, because Clyde that was his favorite magazine. And so when he found out from a mutual friend of ours, James Evan Pilato, that I was a writer and publisher, he goes, "Oh, wow, can I get an article in Paranoia?" And so that's how we got together about 10 or 11 years ago. And later he asked me to be his producer. So
that's awesome.
Well, it sure seems like lately conspiracy theories have come into the mainstream. I don't think over the last 5-6 years we've ever been inundated with this much. So it's kind of like prime time, it seems like.
Right.
Well, think the internet.
Yeah.
I mean, if it wasn't for the internet, this stuff would still be buried, deep. I mean, I used to go to several bookstores back in, when I was a young 20-something. I worked at a couple different bookstores. We always had the books that people were trying to find on the occult and all the weird stuff that you couldn't find anywhere else. Like, what was the one? Primitive Methods or something, which was all about piercing and, transformation, ear gauging, and all this before this was even popular.
Wow.
I mean, I used to see this stuff and go, "Hey, man, this takes a special person to do these kind of things." But to find these kinds of books, UFOs, books on time travel, all this stuff that people question,
right?
Stuff that's questionable. I mean, I just opened up your magazine, and the first thing I see is Cannabis Conspiracy.
There you go.
Oh, I think that's right up our alley today.
That's what I was like, man, what a cool thing to just pop right up there.
Yeah. Well, that's why I brought it.
Yeah.
All the different rumors while growing up in the cannabis industry, in the 80s and 90s, it was just like, Dow Chemical was the one that made pot illegal because they wanted to save their oil plastics. And I've just heard so many of them.
Right. And now you have the GMO pot that they're growing, and how Bill Gates wants to sort of
microchip every
take over.
All the genetic stuff and the crazy genetic stuff that's going down. You never know. Someone could be developing a meg strain of cannabis somewhere.
We had that company a few years ago that was taking everyone's
Phylos. Phylos.
That really happened, though.
Can you believe that really happened?
We used to talk about
conspiracy. People say,
you
can't talk about stuff like that. Yeah, I can talk about stuff like that.
Oh,
I don't have any interest whatsoever. But I think it was a scam from the get-go.
Yep.
Is that wrong for me to say?
Nope.
I think it was a scam.
It was.
We just want your genetics. Oh, we won't share them with anybody. Yeah, right.
And then they patented it.
And
these are all ours.
And that was a lot of fallout from that. I remember that was kind of when we both kind of scooted out. You went to a different direction, and I left the business.
Kind of left a bad taste in my mouth.
I left. That's where I met Ron. I left cannabis and went back into broadcasting. I met Ron at a station which remain unnamed, but with 3 letters. And
there you go. Starts with a K.
frequency modulation. Yeah, it starts with a K, ends with an L.
Yeah.
But if that wouldn't have happened, I wouldn't have met you, and we wouldn't be here, and it's kind of cool. So we're all kind of
back
full circle, baby.
There you go.
Full circle.
Kind of all come back here. So what does it take to produce this nowadays? I mean, I can whip this out on a website, fast and easy, and spread it out there, but people still like the intimacy of this thing right here, of reading a magazine, opening it up, seeing the pages, smelling the thing. I have a friend who does a show here in the mornings. He loves the newspaper, and I still love the newspaper. I just don't see it, ever.
Right. There's certain magazines that are probably best suited for digital, and easy to read online, easily accessible. But something like Paranoia Magazine is good in terms of hard copy. So, you can read it and sort of like clandestinely say, "Hey, check this out."
Right.
Right.
There's just something about it. So it depends upon the genre, of the magazine. And actually, our sales with hard copy is a lot higher than digital, which is extremely rare in publishing now.
Yeah.
I imagine I know some kids, you'd hand them a magazine, they wouldn't know what to do with it.
Yeah, like, what is this thing?
But it's hand delivered hard copy information, which is kind of a rarity these days.
Right,
it's
and
kind of
if someone should do the history of the magazine, as like a documentary. Don't steal my idea, but I'm just saying, someone should do that, because think about it. Look how the magazine has progressed things in life. Starting, let's just go to porn. You know, when you're a kid, you put the slide the magazine there and you put it in a different jacket and hiding things.
Right.
Now you just open
kind
your
of
phone.
Sandwich it between legit magazines.
There was some kind of cool thing, you know, when it, you know, sneaking around trying to see something that you weren't supposed to see.
Right.
Now it's so accessible. There's no really sneaking around. There's no mystifying thing that comes along with it. I feel kind of internet's kind of ruined things a little bit. But just like vinyl has re-brought back, you know, nostalgia in a positive way, I think the magazine can do that as well.
I know, and we've been out of print actually for about a year and a half, you know, since the pandemic.
A lot of magazines have.
But we're starting up with our fall issue, and it's going to be power-packed. I mean, we're going to have, it's the 20th anniversary of 9/11. So
holy shit!
So we have an exclusive article from architects and engineers of 9/11 Truth.
Wow.
Richard Gage. He's the.
Oh yeah, I've heard that name.
And I met him a couple of weeks ago in Cambria, California.
Oh yeah, was
the United We Stand Festival.
I was wondering. I was going to ask you how that festival went. How did that conversation go with him? I mean,
really good.
Yeah.
I mean, we went out to dinner, and he was just blown away by Clyde because, you know, Clyde has an incredible mind, you know, especially with remembering certain facts.
He's pretty good at remembering things.
Yeah.
Sometimes I think he's reading, and he's just coming straight off.
I know
the brain prompt, as I like to call it. It freaks me out a little bit.
Yeah. So Clyde was talking about certain facts about 9/11 that Richard didn't even realize, and goes, "Wow, I think you're right." You know, I haven't thought about that in years. But
and that's going to come out. That's going to come out in the fall.
Yeah, and then we're going to have an article by Ilana Freeland about geoengineered transhumanism.
What the hell is
that? So both of those.
That's some heavy shit right there.
Yeah, geoengineering, right?
Right.
Which has to do with the manipulation of our weather, which many people believe is occurring.
I mean, there's a bunch of fires burning in Central Oregon. That,
well, I mean, look at our weather now too. I mean,
this last 12 months.
And a lot of people say, well, it's part of, you know, climate change, global warming, but
possibly,
you know, and then there's two ways of looking at that. It's just a natural occurrence. Every few thousand years, our weather changes drastically, or is it being caused by carbon emissions? Right. So. But unfortunately, that topic has been politically weaponized. Yeah. And so I think the truth is somewhere in the middle, you know, with a lot of these type of conspiracies. But there's a lot of things that are politically weaponized now these days, whether it's COVID-19 or the pandemic or what have you. And it's really sad because it causes a lot of confusion for people who really want to know the truth.
And where does that intersection run into with conspiracy theory and politics? Because I think in recent times, I don't think the two have ever been really married closer, even with the JFK assassination or any of the other big government conspiracies that have come out.
There's a lot of them.
Right now, I mean, it's really hard to see where the line is between fact and fiction.
Right, and you know, you brought up the internet too, and that hasn't helped too much. I mean, it's like a double-edged sword, right? It can bring out a lot of good information, but then there's a lot of tainted information, which is called fake news.
And you guys had the chance to curate it when you're putting out a magazine like this. So like, oh, this is really bullshit. Maybe we want to get this one out.
Yeah, and you know, the thing about Paranoia, though, is we have some fringe topics. You know, a lot of it's speculative. But then we have some really good investigative pieces. And so I think that's what sets it apart. There's no other magazine out there quite like it. Yeah. And so that's why it appeals to people that are like tinfoil hat type folks. And then, you know, people that are really serious about, you know, certain things that are going on in the world. So.
I mean, I see secret Nazi space race, and that gets me.
That's Olaf Phillips.
Yeah, it gets me hot and heavy to take a look at that. But you know, there's some topics that people just go, oh, you know, come on, you know, what are you talking about? You know, I mean, how could that be? You know, like, just I don't want to bring it up, but Sandy Hook, you know, but like, oh, you know, but then you hear the stories from people who were there. I mean, I hear all kinds of weird stuff.
Yeah. Whether it's the Boston bombing, which we had an issue dedicated toward that.
Yeah. That was heavy duty because I know people who were there, at the bombing.
Yeah.
That were like blocks away.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm getting some kind of weird ticking in my ear. I don't know what that is. It sounds like a cricket.
Is there a bomb?
I don't know. I'm not quite sure what it is.
It's the government.
It's the government. It has to be. They know we're doing this show today. And the fact that we're a cannabis-oriented show.
Right on, man.
They're on top of us,
Yeah.
I'm sure, Facebook loves it when we're on.
Yeah.
Do you have a current favorite conspiracy theory that you're mulling around with
Yes,
right
I do,
now?
as a matter of fact.
Right on.
And it has to do with what's referred to as electronic mind control.
Oh, kind of like what's going on in my head right now.
There you go. or the TI, targeted individual,
Right.
people that might hear things.
Now we're all taking our media and television. Most of it's online. It's not being broadcast over the air. So I get that. I get that.
So there's something called voice-to-skull technology, and there's an actual patent for it. The U.S. Air Force, a number of years ago,
Really?
created this type of device where you can hear things, and it bypasses the regular auditory system. And so basically you're hearing things in your head.
It just piped right in.
So essentially it's like artificial schizophrenia.
Wow, that's exactly what I was just thinking about.
Yeah.
That's what it sounds like.
Yeah, and so, it's ingenious because they can discredit people, make them look like they're crazy. And actually, I believe we're going to be doing a show on that tonight.
Oh, okay.
It has it's about what's referred to as the Havana Syndrome.
Yeah, I just
have been reading about
me
this.
Me too. Tell people who they might not know, it's happened a lot from like 1912 all the way to now.
Well, and even the Russian embassy, there was some bugging that went on. Actually, that probably happens at a lot of embassies.
I would think so.
But they were using various types of electronic devices and beaming microwaves to cause your brain waves to kind of go berserk.
Yeah.
And but now again, they have the technology to actually embed voices or sounds into your head.
Wow.
And but because of this, certain individuals were having some neurological issues, severe headaches, and
You think?
inflammation.
Yeah.
And so that's why they call it the Havana Syndrome. And now all of a sudden it's coming out in the news, but this stuff has been going on for years. So that's what we're going to probably be talking about tonight.
Yeah, literally, I just saw an article across my feed yesterday about this because it happened in Cuba, and they really got some good documentation on that.
But even before Cuba, like I said, it happened in Moscow, the Russian embassy. And so, so that's sort of an interest that I've had for a number of years. Mind control in general. And then sort of, the past 10, 20 years, I've been really into the electronic mind control because I've talked to a lot of people that, think that they're being affected by this. Now, you have some people that have significant mental health issues.
Yeah.
And so they'll gravitate toward this type of conspiracy to justify their condition, But then you have individuals that I believe that are being targeted. And it's not necessarily by the government, too, because you can actually make some of these devices.
Wow.
And so I believe that there are private interests, whether it's organized crime or just people that are wealthy and like, oh, I'm going to fuck this person over, right? So,
Right? Or you're up, or you're up for indictment, your key witness starts talking to himself or something.
So it's not always the CIA or the NSA.
Yeah.
And
it's not always the mafia. That's what I'm thinking.
I've also kind of noticed that the government's stepping a little bit closer to some of these conspiracy theories. You've got government agencies going out to the Skinwalker Ranch and checking out the paranormal activity out there and coming back and saying, something's going on, but we don't know what the fuck it is.
Right. Where they probably do know, but
they're not going to say.
That's true. UFOs.
I was just going to say how long it took for the UFO thing to come out.
Yeah, they're actually starting to talk about some of these things, and they're not saying aliens, but it is an unidentified flying object, and they'll admit to that much of it.
Right.
And the things are going Mach 20 and fucking turning on a dime, and you're like, well, I would have splattered my insides inside the cockpit, but something can turn like that fast.
Yeah. But I think it's the slow drip, right? So they're saying, yeah, this stuff is out there, but we're just not really sure how it all plays out. Right. So I think part of it is disinformation and misinformation, actually, because after I've been sort of studying conspiracies for a little over 30 years now.
Yeah.
And so I know with the whole UFO thing, people get really excited about it. I know Clyde does sometimes.
That's the one I like.
I do find it interesting, but at the same time, it's almost predictable as to what's going to happen. Like when they had the UFO release of documents just last month, and people are getting really excited about it, but it's like, okay, we'll see what happens.
Aren't we? We're coming up on an anniversary with Roswell, aren't we? I don't know which one we're coming up on. Is it 50 years now?
So I think that occurred in 47.
Yeah, I'm almost 50.
But next year, I think it's going to be the 75th anniversary.
Something like that. I know a big one's coming
and we are going to Roswell for that.
Oh, that'll be cool.
Yeah. So
that'll be cool.
In July.
I think we need to do a Stoney podcast from Roswell, bro.
We'll tag along.
No, please do. That'd be great. That'd be great.
So when the magazine, you're getting ready to put this out, it probably takes a few bucks to put it out, right? How do people help support the magazine?
Well, they can go to paranoiamagazine.com. And we don't have yearly subscriptions because it comes out so infrequently. But, they can just check out Paranoia Magazine. And then, again, our Paranoia podcast is Sunday nights at 10 p.m.
And where can they hear that?
On aftermath.fm. We're live on aftermath.fm. Otherwise, you can listen to our archive shows on soundcloud.com.
Oh, okay.
And then just plug in Paranoia Magazine.
Go to SoundCloud.
Yeah.
So you guys are kind of on the publishing schedule of the old zines back in the 90s. It's kind of like whenever there's enough to put an issue out. You remember those awesome sub-pop cultures? Oh,
I used to do fanzines all the time with a couple of friends, and the one that we did in Tacoma, Washington, is where we did it. I had a pal who we worked together at Camelot Records, and that was kind of like one of my day jobs. But you had to wear a shirt and tie and stuff, but we were both all a bunch of punk rockers and crazy guys. But the name of our fanzine was called Spite, and it looked like a Sprite can.
So, I was going to say, this is much more polished than a lot of
those. Yeah, and we would go to Kinko's until like 2 a.m. and get the thing out and get it done and then go push it out everywhere.
Nice.
It was fun. It was only like 10 or 12 pages usually, but it had all kinds of rebellious punk rock stuff in it.
I love
skateboard
zines.
stuff, things like that.
Actually, I was putting out something called Conspirazine about 15 years ago, and it was sort of like, that type of format.
I love that.
And then with that, that's how I got my start in radio, actually, is somebody goes, hey, you should have a radio show on Chaos out of the Evergreen State College.
Oh, yeah.
Nice.
So I went through
Ducks.
So I went through the radio training,
Yeah.
And then they said, oh, yeah, we'd love to have you. Let's see, we can put you on around 2 a.m. on Friday night.
I've been there.
And it's like, no thanks. And then somebody else said, oh, you could probably get on Free Radio Olympia. They have a lot of openings. And that was pirate radio, so it's unregulated.
Hell yeah.
And so I was working a legit job at the time, and it's like, oh, man, I don't know. And they go, just have an alias.
Yeah.
So I was Demi De Assis.
I like that. That's a good one.
And so who happens to be my grandfather. He's from the Philippines.
Okay.
Democrito de Assis, so I shortened it.
Nice.
And so I was on from about 2005 to 2011.
Okay.
So it was very popular.
That's a good stretch.
Yeah.
I was in Anchorage at that time. I worked in Olympia as well.
I know. That's how we kind of crossed paths.
Right.
We used to go to Ralph's Thriftway.
Oh yeah, that's right down the street from where I worked. Because I worked at KRXY, which was the old bank building there.
Yes, I remember that.
Right there. And it was cool because our prize vault was an actual vault. And then at that time, though, the main studio was in the closet. Yeah, we had just a little closet. They were building the studios as I worked there. But good times. That was way back when.
I know.
The
way back in the 90s.
Way back machine. Holy
Lord,
cow.
it's been that long already.
Yeah, it's all good. So you spent your time polishing your DJ stuff, doing
Well, again, it's pirate radio.
Right.
I remember like the first evening that I trained.
Yeah.
The guy was like stoned and drunk. It's like, hey, Ron, come on in, man. Yeah, don't touch these, man. You touch these, you're dead, And this is the only thing you're going to touch, and your mic. So, but so it was fun. I had a great time doing that, and then I moved down to San Diego, and that's when I bought Paranoia Magazine.
Mm-hmm.
I took that over.
And you had a museum there too, right?
Well, I had a bookstore.
Okay.
Called Paranoia, the Conspiracy Store.
Yeah.
Nice.
And so I had a whole bunch of magazines and books and T-shirts, and it was just sort of the reality of it was that I got this art studio because I wanted to live in it, right? But I had to make it legit, like it was a real business, which it was.
Yeah, yeah.
But I actually lived there, and I only paid $300 a month.
The good old
And it was like right downtown
good old
Olympia, right
days.
next to the gas lamp district.
Oh, yeah.
Close to the
San Diego, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and so, but it was nice. I think you saw some of the pictures.
I did. I was like, damn, San Diego on $300 a month. That'd be kick butt. I could barely get my food bill in on that.
And then in Portland, though, when I first moved here, I had the Conspirazone.
Oh.
And that was over by off Broadway by the Pearl District.
I bet you had the most interesting customers walking into that store.
Well, but it was by appointment only. So it wasn't like a storefront or anything. Again, I lived in it, and so for $175 a month.
That's amazing.
Wow. So Paranoia Podcast is what night is that on again?
Sunday nights. 10 p.m.
Aftermath.fm.
Yeah.
And then you hang out with Clyde for the rest of the week. Tell us a little bit about Ground Zero. What's going on over there?
Well,
I mean, I know you said you got some bunch of stuff coming up.
Yeah, we broadcast from KPAM, 860 AM, The Answer.
Yeah.
And we've been there since November.
Right.
And we're on 175 stations across the country.
What's the craziest station you're on? What's like the farthest north, farthest south station? Are you on in Hawaii or anything cool like that?
No, but we have a huge audience in New Hampshire for some reason. We get so many calls, people from Maine and New Hampshire. So they just love grounds. Yeah,
that's cool.
Sort of like, well, it's kind of
weird.
Yeah,
but you got a lot of calls from that area.
Yeah.
I've always when I used to hang out with you guys there a little bit, the calls were just nonstop.
Yeah, it's still that way.
I mean, it's just nonstop. The show ends and you're hanging out and you're still got call after call after
call.
Well,
that's why we decided to have the show after the show called On Beyond Zero.
Oh. Gotcha.
And so that's when Wes, he's the senior producer, and myself and Clyde, and now Clyde's stepson Liam, he hangs out with us.
Yeah, he's a good kid.
Yeah. And so it's just we just BS and just let it all hang out, and I think people are kind of surprised, because Clyde is so proper on regular radio, and then all the F-bombs and
gets a little loose when he's
more personal.
Yeah, and so we've had some
Well, when you get the shackles of the FCC off of your hands and you can wave them freely, you wave them. You know what I mean? You just can't help it.
Yeah. So it's actually really popular, and that's streamed on Aftermath.fm still.
Oh, okay.
But then we have our own digital playground called Aftermath.media. And so all of our archive shows are stored there. And we also have e-books and e-magazines, and a lot of the documents that Clyde refers to during the show, we put in Aftermath.media.
That's important. I like that.
I was just going to say, that's a great idea. So that way,
people can refer
there.
to it, if they want. And it's relatively inexpensive for people to sign up. It's just $10 a month. And then for the month of July, it's only $79.
Gotcha.
That's pretty reasonable.
Per year. So, we try to keep it reasonable for people, but, we really had to expand our digital presence because
that's what you got to do.
Unfortunately, regular radio is just not paying the bills anymore. So.
That's the way it works. That's the way it works. Well, We're wrapping up the show for today, the Old Stoney's podcast. Today we have been talking with Ron Patton, who is the executive producer for Ground Zero, with Clyde Lewis, also the owner and proprietor of Paranoia Magazine.
Formerly editor now.
And formerly editor. Yeah. And, of course, the Paranoia Podcast on Aftermath.fm. You want to check that out as well. Our friends to the north, eh? I love those guys.
Oh, yeah.
They're pretty cool.
They're up by the Arctic Circle. That's where our server is.
Yeah, I've been begging the guy who runs the show up there to let me do a show called That One Time When I Was High. That's like we've written it up, and we want to just talk about funny stuff that has happened.
I think we can make that happen.
I think so.
Yeah,
that'd be rad.
Matt, be ready for that, okay?
I'm already got a couple stories ready.
Make sure and follow us. You can follow us, the Old Stonies, on Instagram just by ourselves at the Old Stonies, and then also take a look at CannaCast420 on Instagram, at CannaCast420. We're all over the place there. We want to thank TalkcastPDX. We're here at the TalkcastPDX studios. You can check us out on their website, talkcastpdx.com. After the fact, of course, our show will be up there a little later on. And,
buy a T-shirt.
Buy a T-shirt.
Buy a T-shirt. Support us.
Go to budtendershirts.com, please. Budtendershirts.com. Buy a T-shirt. Support the show. We appreciate it. So,
thank you.
Ron Patton, thank you for stopping by.
Thanks so much for having me. I enjoyed it.
Awesome. And for Matt Cristione.
Thank you again, guys.
I'm Justin McDonald, and this has been the Old Stonies Podcast. Till next time, keep on smoking.